I'm a percussionist, and I play a djembe and a snare drum, which they call a kasha. I had a really active life. I was in a marching band called Joya. We did a lot of parades and activities outside together. Cookie joined us on an instrument, and we've marched. I've got a picture of me with Tiny Tim. We marched. That was one of the highlights of my life. The other highlight was opening for the Rams when they came to St. Louis.
I just play the shaker. So I go, no, yeah, I can do this. And now we do that occasionally if he doesn't do the marching part, but if they're on stage someplace, they'll give him a chair and he can sit and play the snare. Now he's taking drumming lessons down in the Loop every Sunday.
On the djembe, which is a hand drum.
That's now it's hands rather than the sticks.
Coordinating your brain and your hands.
Yeah.
I see that recommended as a good source of therapy. So that's why I'm doing that.
It's a piece of our life we don't want to let go of.
He was a type A personality, and he was very bubbly. He was a center of attraction in a party. I was always in the background, and he was the one talking to everybody. And he's also very smart and knowledgeable, so people would gravitate towards him. So we had a lot of friends. Good life. He was running a company, a software company, which we started before his diagnosis.
This is the Olympic torch, 1996. And you can see me carry. I did some work for Mother Teresa.
He has held very senior level positions in various Fortune 500 companies. He had a very active life, very socially engaging. I think I missed that part of him. He's become a little bit more quieter now.
Before I was diagnosed, I was the Director of Sports, Recreation, and Aquatics at the Jewish Community Center. I did that for 24 years, and then when I retired, I taught some swim lessons and did some things, but the most fun thing I did was my neurologist said, don't stop doing anything. And so I was a volunteer for Maccabi USA, which is an organization that takes athletes from the United States and they compete in sports. It's like in different, we did it in Budapest, and it's mostly in Israel. And right after I was diagnosed, I was one of the team managers, and I went with over 1,000 athletes to Israel for a month. And we competed in sports, we traveled the country, and we made lots of friends from all over the world.
Parkinson's disease is a neurological condition that affects many different areas. So it can affect motor symptoms, and the main motor symptoms are tremor, rigidity, which is stiffness, bradykinesia, slowness, and posture imbalance. And then it can affect a lot of other non-motor symptoms, which could be depression, anxiety, sleep issues, constipation, speech, and many different other areas too. So that's why they call it actually the snowflake disease, because no one person looks alike.
Before my diagnosis of Parkinson's, I had symptoms but didn't really know that I had symptoms. When I would swim freestyle, my feet hurt so badly I couldn't do it. And I didn't know. I was getting cramps in my legs, had no idea, told my doctor, put me on all these medications that didn't work. I had tremors in my hand and my feet, and my grandchildren would go, Grammy, you're shaking, and Grammy, you're shaking. And then finally my internist sent me to a neurologist, and then I was diagnosed. And then I realized a lot of things that I probably have had for a while, that I had Parkinson's before I was diagnosed.
People don't connect something like depression, anxiety. They don't connect that with Parkinson's. And sometimes they have found that those things can come 10, 20 plus years before any motor symptoms arise.
I was diagnosed about 10 years ago. I had problems with my gait, walking. I didn't tell anybody at work. I was a driver for school bus. I worked with Parkinson's for 9 years. I was falling a lot. So they asked me to retire, go on disability, and that's where I've been.
It's the slow degeneration of the dopamine. That's a neurotransmitter that helps with smooth and coordinated movement. So that's why the hallmark of Parkinson's is stiff and slow. Those neurons and neurotransmitters are decreasing in the body. And also they've also found the connection with alpha-synuclein protein, which is a protein that we all have, but with Parkinson's it starts to clump and just act abnormally. And when it does that, it can cause all these different symptoms. And depending on where that protein is kind of clumping in the body, that is where you might have some symptoms. So that's why it can be so sporadic.
Even when he told me he had Parkinson's, that didn't really hit me because, you know, you don't know anything about Parkinson's. And he looks so normal. So, you know, it's one of those things, oh, okay, yeah, you have Parkinson's, you look normal, you're behaving normal, things should be okay, right? So I don't think I digested that information until a couple of years later. And I don't even think he realized either in the sense what it would be long term. I think we tried to carry on our lives. We only told our oldest son that he had Parkinson's. We didn't tell our second son. He was in high school. We said, you know, why share something? It's just not a happy news. And only time we shared is after he graduated from high school. We told him, and he was so upset that he's like, why didn't you guys tell me?
Mostly it's devastating to people. They might not know anything about Parkinson's disease, and so it's scary. Then they go on the internet, and that becomes very scary. It's just overwhelming. Also, Parkinson's is a chronic and progressive disease. And so when you think about that, it is going to slowly get worse over time. And so that's scary too. It's like, oh my goodness, how am I gonna, manage this if it's just gonna keep getting worse? And that's really where we come in, is because if they can connect with us, the sooner they can connect with us, they can get the education and support and resources, and then they realize that they can live well with Parkinson's and that they do have some control over this disease and they can manage it better.
My feelings on being diagnosed with Parkinson's were first very scary. And what am I going to do? And then I started talking to people. The Parkinson's Association just moved to Chesterfield. And as soon as it moved, I started going over there and taking classes and being around the people there, the people who work there and the people who were in the classes and my new friends. It made me feel really comfortable. And I was able to tell people, talk about it, and it really helped me.
We do find if people don't get connected, and it's either with us or with anyone, that they do have decreased quality of life. And so, it feels good that this makes a difference.
Slowly, you could see that he was unable to put buttons on, and he would walk and suddenly freeze. Sometimes he would trip. So you start noticing certain things, and then around 2010, things were getting a little hard. So that's when he decided to resign from his job. We also sold the company at that time, so it all happened around the same time. And his neurologist suggested that he should go through an option called deep brain stimulation.
So the main treatment that's been around forever is medications, the carbidopa-levodopa, and that still is the gold standard of treatment. But there's also a possible treatment of deep brain stimulation, which is kind of like a pacemaker for your brain. For some people, that is a good option. Not everyone's a candidate, but for some people it is.
So in fact, actually his DBS, which happened in 2010, my son got married in India. And he was fully involved in planning, prepping, he even did a cartwheel at his wedding after the surgery. Yeah, 2,000 people who attended the wedding. So we had to do a lot of planning from here. So he was almost felt so normal after his surgery. Again, of course, the thing is, it's not a cure. So as gets worse, the symptoms come back. So
there's also just coming out, it's just about to be FDA approved, is a subcutaneous medication. So it takes that carbidopa-levodopa, you put it on your skin, and so it's more like, like an insulin pump. So it provides continuous carbidopa-levodopa, and so people might not have those fluctuations in their symptoms as well. But also the therapies really do help Physical therapy can help tremendously. Speech therapy, occupational therapy, all of those therapies are super important to make sure they know about and take advantage of so that they can manage their symptoms the best they can.
Neurologist suggested doing some exercises to help him. I think he took exercises a lot more intensely around 2008, 2009, maybe around that time I think he started going to APTA for classes. That's when we got introduced to APTA. Over a period of time, we got involved more. I was part of a caregiver group in APTA. We started a group just for South Asian community because you have care support for Parkinson's patients, but the problem is sometimes culturally you can't relate to each other, right? So we said it may be nice to have a culturally specific support group.
And it's wonderful group that they started, and they met in each other's homes and share meals, and it's a great support group there. I met Kamala and Prakash about 2 years ago, and I just love Prakash's smile. It just lights up a room. There's something, a little twinkle there that I just love. And Kamala really dug in right away with us. She is on our board of directors, and she has a lot of experience with nonprofits, and so she has been also a huge asset. It's been wonderful to get to know them.
When I taught physical education in Chicago, I had to coach tennis. And so I had played before through as growing up, so I started taking lessons, and so I just kept playing tennis throughout the rest of my life. And because of my Parkinson's symptoms, I would say move to get the ball, and I knew what I would have to do, but my body didn't move and I was terrible. And then because of all the exercise and everything I've done, my game is better than it was before I was diagnosed.
The research, they've done a lot of research with Parkinson's and exercise, which is awesome. And it's really conclusive that exercise is the best thing that someone can do for Parkinson's. So the medications that are out there now really just help manage the symptoms. And that's great, because if you can manage the symptoms better, you can have a better quality of life. But what exercise has been shown in some studies is to slow the progression.
Because of my profession, I taught aquatic exercise for arthritis and MS. And when I look at all of the exercises that they do for us, I see so much of how they're helpful because of my background. And when I go, I know this is good because I know what it's doing to me because of my education.
Very, very important. And fun. And good camaraderie, too, with the people in the class.
Yeah.
So that's good. I enjoyed it. Sometimes I didn't feel like going.
Yeah. But everybody.
But who does?
That, yeah.
Who feels like going to an exercise class?
But that's the thing that's helped him have a better life. Period. I mean, it's that movement.
So we help build partnerships with other organizations, the YMCA, many different organizations, and provide some training to exercise leaders that are interested. And then they host Parkinson exercise classes all throughout the community. Right now we have 57 weekly classes in Missouri and Central Illinois that are every week, that happen every week. The exercise classes are all free of charge, which is really nice.
The exercise classes that they offer are all different kinds, and they're for all different levels. There's ones where you do stations, there's ones where you do kickboxing, there's Tai Chi, there's a dance one which I really want to take, but I haven't gotten to it yet. They usually put together maybe 3 things within one exercise. It's movement, speech, and thinking. And that's what we need to do with Parkinson's, and it really helps.
You did it! Amen. All right, so go ahead and grab a drink.
The other thing that we do is we record 4 exercise classes a week, and we post those on our YouTube page, which is really great. So if anyone can't get out, either because of the weather or because they're not feeling well, they can pull up YouTube and watch an exercise class and exercise along. And then the other thing that we have is Zoom exercise classes. Those are live, which is great, so people can talk with the instructor while they are exercising.
My symptoms have changed since I was diagnosed. Some of my major symptoms, because of the exercise and the medication, have gone away. I have much less tremors, much less clutching. They're really not there. If I get anxious, they come back.
She is so sweet, and she is so committed to exercising and making sure she stays active. You know, she's active with all of her friends and just kind of keeps living her life, which is wonderful. And then she inspires others, you know, and connects with others. And hey, why don't you come exercise? So Fanchin's phenomenal, yeah. The APDA, our national organization, was started in 1961. It's a grassroots organization, and then we started having chapters throughout the country. And this chapter, the Missouri chapter, started in 1984. So it's actually our 40th anniversary, and it's just started with a group of people who wanted to do more for Parkinson's. Now we're one of the largest chapters in the country now.
Because of the Parkinson's Association, I have learned so much about Parkinson's. I've gone to conferences. I've gone to walks. I have people there talking to me. I have friends that we go out with. Without the Parkinson's Association, I probably wouldn't be able to do as much or be as connected or be okay inside myself.
I think the most important thing we do is provide support. I think building that community of support for people is key, because when people feel like they aren't alone in this, they manage their symptoms better, they feel like they are connected with people, they then have a better quality of life. So we offer that through support groups, but exercise classes become support groups too.
At the beginning, we were part of a support group, which lasted about 5-6 weeks, and that was good. And it was couples. And they did give us some sources, so we used those.
But it was amazing for me to see the different people at different stages, because it was early on for us, and to see how different people, you know, how they dealt with it, and every day, because we talk about everyday stuff. How to, you know, can you cook? What do you do if you can't, you know?
I think taking medication was a big aha for some people, because, you know, you take carbidopa levodopa, which is the mainstay for Parkinson's, and you have to take it every 4 hours. And then I told the class, I said, you know, I just set my phone for 4 hours, and that reminds me. And people said, oh, you can do that? And it was a big aha moment.
Yeah.
So I think that was good too, and it's good to share.
Yeah, and that's what that group was about, sharing.
Right now we offer over 31 support groups in Missouri and Central Illinois, and we really offer all of our support groups, the care partner can attend also, and really family members, if they'd like to, can. So we always want all of our programming to be inclusive of the whole family, but then we also have specific support groups for caregivers only. They have things they want to talk about with other caregivers, and it just is a nice space where they can share.
Look at you as a family. So for me as a caregiver, I feel like I have that extended family that I can lean on, whether it's information or any support or any connection. I mean, they helped me to kind of start this support group. And Kathy was so supportive, and I told her, I said, is it okay if I start? She said, yes, go ahead and start this support group, and we've been wanting to do something like that. And so she was very, very supportive.
Then we had somebody come to us from home care, and she went around the house with us and gave us some things to do. We had to take down the throw rugs so that it wouldn't slip. We had to get a new toilet, make it higher. We had to put grab bars in our bathroom. That was very important. We had to get a tub transfer chair. That was very important so I can take my showers. And all that helped.
Well, I met Mike and Cookie many years ago. They took a wellness course here at the APDA that I facilitated, and so I got to know them. And that wellness course was a 6-week course, and it was just a group of 12 people. So we get to know each other, we talk about a lot of different things, how to manage well. I fell in love with them, and they're just so fun. Recently, Mike has volunteered to come with our exercise leader training and give examples of exercising, and so he's always a good sport to be willing to, share his story and his experience with people, and he's just fantastic sense of humor. I just love getting to know him.
If we didn't have it in our lives, Michael may not be here at this point.
Where would I be, in a home?
Probably, because it takes over. If you give up and you just sit around, and it just takes control
It's
of your body.
debilitating. It's
Yeah.
debilitating.
Yeah, it would be very different.
Very important. I feel lost, even if it's closed, for one day.
I think it's just the support structure, the webinars. Feel like there's somebody there for you. It's almost like, it's like a foundation, or like your grandma there. That support is there.
We just have a few staff members, but if we can create that sense of community through our volunteers, through our exercise leaders, support group leaders, then that really builds a whole network of support for them, and I love it.
I mean, we have such dear friends there. It's just, it's nice to know that you're not alone in this and going through this. And if you're seeing some odd thing, you don't want to call your doctor, okay, you can call a friend, or you can call the Parkinson Association, and they'll either recommend something or, tell you what to do, or try this or try that or something.
Calling APDA when you've been first diagnosed with Parkinson's is an absolute, because it will really help.
Prakash didn't share his diagnosis for almost 10 years because he didn't, until 2010, until his surgery, he didn't tell anybody, even his mom. Other than our children, nobody knew. Looking back, I feel like we should have shared it sooner, but people don't know much about Parkinson's. So if I come and told you I have Parkinson's, you don't even know how to support me because you don't know anything about it, right?
The problem is that there's a stigma that comes with it, and people think you are not capable, and you're the aide on the bus for my child. Maybe you're not capable, kind of thing. And even though Michael would step away when, if anything would happen, he was very capable that whole time he was there.
It's nothing to hide. You don't have to be ashamed of it. It's anything like, when you have diabetes, you say, I have diabetes. It's like, okay, I have Parkinson's,
I think there is a lot of hope. I think there's researchers out there that say, hey, we are getting on the cutting edge of really coming up with some fantastic treatments, not only just for the symptoms, but potentially to either slow the progression or potentially stop it in its tracks. And that's really exciting.
Parkinson's will not stop me. I'm going, and I just move.
He had the wrong doctor when we first started this, and we were getting nowhere. And we went there, and they gave us names, and we found the right doctor. And I always say, anybody that I meet the first time, if I find out they have it or they ask about it, I say, it is a wonderful organization.
Yeah, I think it's him. He has a very, very positive attitude. That helps me because, when a lot of people say, oh, why is it happening to me? But he's like, why not me? It's okay. 1 in 7 is going to have Parkinson's. Maybe out of those 7, I got it, so the remaining 6 people are okay.
People are the ones that can help you find your way to get to the right people to help you.
I think APTA is kind of like a support structure for Parkinson's patients. I think anybody who's thinking of donating money, that would be fantastic, yes.
Well, we cannot provide all of these programs and services without our donations. And the majority of what we do is funded by people's generous donations.
They support research. They provide all the research material for people to read. They provide advice, they provide free exercise classes, they create all these support groups. All that costs money, right? And it's all free for Parkinson's families. Yeah.
I had someone in the support group that we do who was a caregiver, and they were really struggling with, acceptance. They were newly diagnosed, and about a year or so after, during one of the support groups, she says, we realized that if we keep worrying about the future, we're robbing the joy that we will have today. And so let's find joy today. And what can we do today to still live our lives and have joy?
The Parkinson's Association is so important to our community because it gives everyone who has Parkinson's, their families, their relatives, and their friends the ability to find out about Parkinson's, get a positive attitude with it, learn and move forward in life and not feel stopped.